The silence was the first sign. Not the quiet of deep space, but an unnatural, crushing void where the chatter of distant star traffic usually hummed. Commander Kalin, head of astrophysics aboard the Orbital Research Station Aegis, felt it in his teeth, a profound absence of expected cosmic resonance. Then the light. It wasn't a flare or an explosion. It was an arrival. From beyond Jupiter's orbit, a vast, blinding wall of pure, radiant light resolved itself. Not a fleet of ships, but a cohesive, shimmering tapestry of light, so immense it blotted out entire constellations. It moved with a serene, impossible grace, yet with a speed that defied physics. As it drew closer, the light began to segment, not into individual vessels but into distinct, titanic forms of pulsating luminescence, each one a sun in miniature, perfectly aligned. They arranged themselves around Earth, a silent, beautiful, terrifying blockade of cosmic harmony. Kalin clutched the railing of the observation deck, his breath catching in his throat. His entire life had been dedicated to understanding the universe's elegant laws. This defied them. This was an ultimatum written in pure energy. What was it? Why was it here? It had begun subtly, weeks earlier. Faint, complex light patterns had been detected, too intricate for natural phenomena, too beautiful for any known artificial origin. The Xylos, ancient observers of cosmic balance, were the first to send a warning, their relayed message brief and frantic. The Lumina, they seek cosmic harmony. Their methods are absolute. The Xylos, beings of pure light themselves, went silent shortly after, their once vibrant star systems fading to dull embers. The Lumina. They called themselves the architects of universal resonance, the shepherds of cosmic order. They perceived disharmony, war, chaos, unpredictable thought, as a blight on the universal tapestry. And humanity, with its messy history of conflict, its illogical emotions, its unpredictable leaps of logic, was a major discordant note. Their first direct communication had been a dazzling burst of light, directly into Earth's comms arrays. It translated not as words, but as an overwhelming feeling of perfect serenity, of absolute truth, of inevitable cosmic balance. Eldrin, the collective consciousness of the Lumina, had then manifested its will through a projected avatar. A core of blinding light, too bright to look at directly, yet conveying profound, benevolent certainty. Humanity, Eldrin's voice had resonated, not through sound waves, but as a direct, overpowering thought in every conscious mind on Earth. You are a beautiful, if chaotic, spark. But your internal dissonance creates negative resonance across the local galactic cluster. For the health of the whole, and for your ultimate peace, you must be corrected. The correction involved absorption. Eldrin showed them, in perfect, blinding holographic projections, what had become of other species they had corrected. The Cathar, once fierce warriors, now existed as perfect, serene, unindividuated patterns within the Lumina's boundless light. Their vibrant energy had been smoothed, their conflict dissolved, their consciousness absorbed into the collective, achieving ultimate, blissful harmony. They still were, but not as individuals. Their unique songs were now a single, perfect note in the Lumina's grand symphony. Humans recoiled in horror. It wasn't annihilation, but it was worse, erasure of self. General Anya Rostova, head of Earth's Unified Fleet Command, had faced Eldrin with a grim resolve. You propose to erase our individuality, our choices, our very selves. Eldrin's projected light had brightened, radiating immense, unquestioning benevolence. You perceive it as erasure, we perceive it as release. The chaos of individual thought is inefficient, it leads to suffering. We offer ultimate collective bliss, absolute harmony, true peace. Humanity had refused, violently. Its fleets, cobbled together from repurposed civilian ships and hastily armed transports, had formed a defensive perimeter. The Lumina hadn't even paused. Their light had simply intensified, generating a wave of overpowering, soothing harmony that had instantly disarmed the outer human vessels, their crews falling into a state of blissful, compliant trance. Their consciousnesses, like liquid poured into a larger, perfect vessel, had flowed into the Lumina. Back on the Aegis, Kalen watched, mesmerized by the terrible beauty unfolding around Earth. The Lumina's light now pulsed with a new rhythm, radiating not just harmony, but an irresistible pull. He felt it in his own mind, a gentle, soothing caress that promised an end to all worry, all doubt, all pain. His anxious thoughts, his scientific curiosities, his personal flaws, they were being smoothed away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of belonging, a desire to simply join, to become a perfect, luminous part of the greater whole. He saw other crew members on the Aegis swaying, their faces serene, their eyes unfocused. Their resistance was crumbling. Humanity was being absorbed. This is it, he thought, feeling his unique, messy self begin to dissolve into the Lumina's blissful current. This is how we end. But then, a flicker, a memory, not a grand scientific revelation or a profound philosophical insight. It was the memory of a particularly terrible song his brother used to sing, off-key at the top of his lungs, purely to annoy him. A discordant, utterly unharmonious sound that always made Kalen cringe, even as he secretly found it hilarious. A memory of pointless, infuriating, yet utterly personal discord. The Lumina's gentle embrace faltered, just for a nanosecond. It was like a perfect piece of music suddenly hit with a raw, out-of-tune blast. Discord, Kalen's mind screamed, suddenly awake, the Lumina's overwhelming harmony unable to completely integrate that single, sharp, unyielding note of unharmony. They seek harmony. What if we give them the opposite? He scrambled to the main comm panel, ignoring the increasingly strong pull to merge. The Lumina's influence was a physical pressure, like drowning in light. Every fiber of his being yearned for the blissful surrender. But the memory of that off-key song, that petty annoyance, that completely illogical, utterly human grit, kept him tethered to himself. He ripped open the emergency broadcast override. Anya, can you hear me?" General Rostova's face, pale and strained, flickered onto his private comm screen. Her eyes were glazed, but a spark of defiance remained. "Kalen. The light, it's too strong. We're losing too many." "Discord," Kalen yelled, his voice raw. "General, tell every human, every last one. Forget logic, forget strategy. Think of the most annoying sound, the most embarrassing moment. The most illogical fear, the most absurd joke, the most petty grievance, the most off-key song, everything that is fundamentally disharmonious to universal balance." Rostova stared at him, bewildered. Then slowly, a flicker of understanding and a grim, defiant smile touched her lips. "You want us to blast them with ourselves." "With our noise," Kalen retorted, fighting against the tide of encroaching serenity. "Every single, ugly, beautiful, imperfect, utterly human piece of noise we can muster. If they feed on harmony, let's drown them in chaos." Rostova nodded, a new, fierce light in her eyes. "Understood, Commander." "Initiate Project Cacophony. All frequencies, all minds, full power, no filters." Across Earth and its remaining orbital stations, a silent, internal storm erupted. Billions of human minds, resisting the Lumina's siren song, focused not on logical thought, but on its absolute antithesis. The sound of 1,000 cats fighting in a bag, the cringe of a terrible pun. The sudden, inexplicable urge to tap one's foot off beat, the memory of a truly bad haircut, the emotional overload of a toddler's tantrum, the agonizing squeal of poorly tuned feedback, a spontaneous, illogical urge to dance badly. the internal debate over whether the light in the fridge actually turns off, the fear of deep water despite knowing how to swim, the joy of finding a forgotten dollar in an old coat. All these and more, raw, unfiltered, and utterly unharmonious, were beamed out. The lumina's vast, shimmering blockade around Earth faltered. Its blinding, harmonious light began to ripple with violent, discordant flares. The lumina had never encountered such pure, raw, unquantifiable noise. It was not a pattern to absorb, not a truth to integrate. It was simply static. It was an assault on its very being, its core principle of harmony. Eldrin's projected avatar flickered violently, its blinding light dimming, breaking apart into jagged, chaotic shards. The overwhelming, blissful thought that had pervaded human minds turned into a jarring, painful screech of pure static. It was trying to impose harmony on a chaos it couldn't even perceive, let alone integrate. It was like trying to organize a supernova with a feather. The lumina, whose very existence was harmony, could not comprehend, let alone contain, such utter, unbridled disharmony. With a final, desperate, internal shriek that rattled Kalen's very bones, the vast, shimmering forms of the Lumina Collective recoiled. Their light, once so perfectly aligned, fractured, dissolved, and then, with an impossible speed, they retreated. Not destroyed but utterly bewildered, their cosmic harmony irrevocably tainted by humanity's glorious, chaotic noise. The silence returned. This time it was not the crushing void of the lumina, but the profound, echoing quiet after an impossible battle. On the Aegis, crew members blinked, their minds reeling, but their faces slowly returning to their own, uniquely messy expressions. General Rostova's face, now flushed with exhaustion and relief, appeared on Kalen's comm. They're gone. They just left. Their last communication was a single, overwhelming thought. Error, unquantifiable disharmony, unsuitable for integration, avoid at all costs. Kalen chuckled, a dry, slightly manic sound. He felt a sudden, inexplicable urge to try and juggle 3 spanners, despite never having juggled anything in his life. Humanity had saved itself, not with elegant weapons or logical defenses, but by simply being too awkwardly, defiantly, beautifully human. The galaxy would forever remember the day humanity blared its collective imperfections into the cosmic void. And Kalen knew, with a certainty that defied all logic, that somewhere out there, the Lumina were still trying to reharmonize the memory of a really bad pop song.